It's Charles on Yet with IGN. I'm here with Anthony Gallegos.
Hello.
And we are checking out Borderlands 2. This is the Gunzerker class, one of 5 classes, actually. Here we're just getting a look at the menus, which have been redesigned for the sequel and look a lot better.
Yeah, they're much cooler, much smoother.
And what you see here are the 3 skill trees for the Gunzerker. Now you can build these out as you level up during the game and sort of switch how the Gunzerker works in combat. At the top of the tree, you see that static skill sitting up there. That is his ability to Gunzerk. That is his action skill. That is his defining characteristic that basically allows him to wield 2 weapons at once for a limited amount of time. And what we're going to see here is just the trading interface, so you don't just have to drop weapons randomly on the ground to actually switch them with players. They have a much more formalized trading system here that you can see. It pops up the stats on the weapon so you can get a sense of what you're offering and also what you'll be receiving.
It used to be a lot more convoluted, and you kind of had to go pick it up off the ground, look through your inventory for it, and then see if you liked it. And right here you get a countdown. You can actually cancel it if you change your mind at the last moment.
So yeah, the trading stuff looks a lot better, and this is really a co-op game. It's meant to be played with others. And also at the bottom of the screen there, you can see the other things you can equip. You've got your shields, you've got grenades, and you have other things that can modify your character, aside from which weapon that you're actually carrying and all of the skills that you can customize.
And it's nice seeing how different the guns look in this game too. That was a complaint kind of in the original, that guns were varied, but the look of them was always kind of very similar in a lot of ways, and the guns in this game are just, the design has really been amped up a lot.
Yeah, once this gun starts firing, watch the end of it. Watch the little flaps at the end of it. They kind of expand as you fire, and those kind of effects are, you know, it's not like you have 6 guns or something and this is one of 6. This is one of thousands and thousands of guns, or millions, or whatever. Or
he's Gunzerking.
Gajillions, or whatever you want to call them. So that's the Gunzerking state. You can see there's actually a custom interface that pops up at the bottom of the screen there that shows your ammo counts and also a timer for how long the Gunzerking state is going to last. Obviously, you can do a lot of damage with this, and the Gunzerker is really about dealing damage, and he's also kind of a tankier character and good at drawing the attention of enemies to him. So there are ways through Gunzerking to basically, and through the skill tree, to extend the Gunzerking state to make it last longer, and then while it's active, ways to kind of regenerate health, boost your defensiveness, and also make it so your ammo is actually regenerating while you're doing that, so you don't, somehow run out of ammunition and things. Now, if you combine Gunzerking with what you're seeing there, which is the Siren class, the other one that's running around here, the phase lock ability, it's really good if you combo it, because if something's phase locked, it can't really move, it just sits in that energy bubble, and then if you start up Gunzerking, you're doing tons of damage to a target that can't really defend itself.
We're getting to see a good example too of the elemental damage that these weapons can put out too, like this one's throwing out additional fire damage as well.
Yeah, you do have multiple elemental types of weapons in the game, and you'll have to kind of mix and match, because against some enemies, some elemental types may really not be that effective. So it encourages you basically to carry around a more varied arsenal. You don't want to be like, oh, I only do corrosive weapons, because then inevitably you're going to fight something that's like, oh, well, guess what? I resist
I'm a corrosive
that.
thing.
Yeah. And with the rocket launcher there too, you can see those weren't even like direct flight rockets. They shot out some kind of arcing light thing. So you do get a lot of variety within the different weapon types as well. And that guy obviously got taken down pretty easily because you knocked the crystals off of his legs, revealing a weak point, essentially. And you can see all the crazy damage numbers going up here because, yeah, Gunzerker seems to be quite a bit about dealing huge amounts of damage in short times.
So the Gunzerker, from what I understand, has some ability to taunt enemies or something?
Yeah, he can serve as a tank, so he can draw enemies' attention to him. I know there's also one of the skills, it's not one of the N-tier skills, but one of the skills for the Gunzerker modifies his grenade, so that instead of 1 grenade, you throw 2 grenades.
Of course, everything with the Gunzerker comes in pairs, much better.
Yep. So yeah, he's definitely about throwing out as much damage as possible, and differentiate. You can't actually see them here, but the other 2 classes that at least we know about in detail, the Assassin and the Commando, definitely have much different kinds of styles. I know the Assassin is more of a ninja-like character who carries around a sword, although you don't fight with the sword like you do with guns, it's just his melee attack. But can also stealth and send out decoys on the field so that he can sneak around while his decoy takes the attention of enemies and then he will basically essentially like backstab them or something to that degree.
I like in this part too that we also get to see the way that enemies have multiple, I guess, damage points that matter. Like you were seeing those blue crystals were actually guarding the legs, and you had to shoot those first before you could actually do any sort of substantial damage.
Yeah, and like Diablo, I mean, Borderlands is all about looting stuff. You can see loot blowing out of every corpse that's basically on the field. You get ammo pickups, you get health pickups. You're making money the whole time, and yeah, you're finding new weapons so that you can swap out your inventory, and it's all about the quest to find that perfect arsenal so that you can absolutely dominate everything against regular enemies or against larger bosses, which are also put in throughout the game.
And these randomly generated loot adds a lot of reason to sit here and replay too. Like, you know, the next time you open this chest, you might see a purple item or something too, so that same sort of kick you get out of playing Diablo where you see the shiny colors pop up. There's definitely a lot of that in Borderlands as well.
Yep, and you can see the same kind of interface where the weapons that drop will pop up those little info panes, and then on the panes you'll see up or down arrows to indicate if what you have currently equipped is better or worse than what's on the ground. So you get that at a glance. Uh-oh. Are they about to duel?
Yeah, so of course you can still duel other players. You don't kill them.
In case you really want to prove that you have made better decisions.
What if you ever have to settle who gets what weapon? Sometimes you got to do it in a fair manner. So and then it comes down to who's the better fighter.
I guess that's true. But yeah, and also like Diablo, there's the New Game Plus element. We don't know a lot about it for Borderlands 2, but at least with the first game, once you completed the whole game, saw the ending that totally didn't make any sense at all, and then you're like, you know what, I want to find some cooler stuff, then you could replay the game again at higher levels, and that whole type of thing is going to hold true for Borderlands 2 as well. It's just, yeah, we don't know a lot of specifics about how it's going to work.
Yeah, they do a good job with the enemy variation as far as the types of enemies you fight, like different character models, which was kind of something people complained a bit about in the first game. But on top of that, I've also found that they do a good job of varying enemies with the types of enemies you fight, as far as one might be, I guess in this case, a fire version, as opposed to just a regular version, and then you have to contend with their elemental effects.
That's true, and that's also a badass version. So you do have the basic enemy types, and then you have the larger ones like this badass Thresher, which is basically the elite version of the monster. In this case, larger, but also a lot tougher, deals a lot more damage, and much more challenging. And of course, if you kill the tougher monsters, they have a better chance of dropping better loot.
Always after the loot.
Like this crazy gun that, well, I guess we switched off.
Well, it was an acid gun. Or slag.
But yeah, there's a lot of variation to the effects, and a little bit I've played of the game and the enemies that show up on screen. A little bit that I've played of the game, you definitely get more of the sense of just total insanity while you're playing, as opposed to the first Borderlands. Which, I mean, sometimes you'd come up against huge groups of foes, and you'd sort of be in your mind, you'd be screaming with panic as you just try to shoot everything on screen. But I think this game, at least in its early stages, achieves that effect to a better degree by throwing a larger variety of creatures at you, and the AI seems much more sophisticated, so it's not just like you've got the hang back and shoot guy and the charge directly at you guy. You've got things like this, where the Threshers have multiple arms that are sticking out of the ground all over the place, and that are ducking under the ground, and that in that badass version's case will actually blast out fire novas like that. So you've got tons of special attacks and different enemy behaviors happening all over the screen, forcing you to really pay more attention instead of just blindly fire at everything.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job with that. And also I love the way that there are different damage indicators to show whether you're on fire and what type of damage you're taking.
Yeah, you can see all sorts. There you go. There was the 2 grenades right there.
Of course, because one just isn't good enough for the Gunzerker.
It's just not quite enough. But yeah, Borderlands 2 is supposed to come out in September of 2012, and yeah, I mean, it seems like a great game so far. Nothing shown at this point has indicated that anything will be wrong with this game.
No, it looks amazing.
If you want a Diablo-style experience as a first-person shooter, they seem to know exactly what kind of game they want to make, and are definitely building on the flaws of the first game to make this a much better experience. So definitely looking forward to it, and for more on Borderlands 2, you can check out IGN.com and IGN's YouTube page.